All right, welcome to lesson one. So lesson one is about discovering who you are, discovering why you want what you want, and figuring out what you want in general, right? So years ago, I was a very successful real estate agent, right? I traveled the world for several years doing relief work all over the place, and then ended up landing in Alaska for one summer, building custom homes, which was amazing until I decided how cold I was, and I literally remember the day that I mentally quit building building houses. It was like -10. I remember I hit this nail, missed the nail, hit my thumb. It hurt like crazy. And I decided I was done with this building houses thing. So I decided to get into real estate. Turns out I was actually pretty good at it. I wasn't great at school. I was great at real estate, right? So I get into real estate, and I struggled a little bit in the beginning, and then really took off and became one of the top agents in the country, one of the top 1%. Ended up being one of the 30 under 30 for Realtor magazine. And I was, from the outside looking in, I was doing amazing. From the outside looking in, everything was perfect. I had this great family, had a great business, was involved in the community. And then I ended up hitting a brick wall. And what I realized was I was working all these hours, working really, really hard, and ended up losing my marriage as part of that. And, people ask whose fault was it? And I'm like, it was all my fault, right? It was my fault that my marriage fell apart. And by going through that, I literally hit rock bottom. And I didn't just skim rock bottom. I literally nailed rock bottom. So to the point where I'm laying on a floor in this vacant building that my buddy owned. I'm laying on this floor, and I'm getting ready to take my life, right? I'm planning it out. And I'm getting ready to take my life. And because at that moment, what I realized was my business had fallen apart. So many of my relationships had fallen apart. My involvement in the community had fallen apart. My significance was gone. And also all those things that I labeled myself with were gone. And without those labels I thought were so important, there was nothing left. So I'm laying on the floor, getting ready to take my life. And then I have this one moment of massive awareness. And in the moment of a massive awareness was, nobody's coming to save you. And I realized it wasn't that people didn't care about me. It's literally no one could save me except for me. And I had two choices. I either check out or I take a stand for myself. I literally check out or I become my own hero. And in that moment, things didn't get all better right off the bat. And yet, in that moment, I made a very clear decision that I was going to take a stand for myself and become my own hero. And that's what's led to this today. That's what's led me on this journey to not just help people sell more houses or close more loans or build their business, whatever it is. It's to help people figure out who they are, what they want. It's not just about the business, and they go create an impact and do something amazing with their life that they can be proud of at the end of the day. So that's what this is about. So I think it's important for you to understand a little bit about my journey, because we're going to get on this journey together, right? And we're going to figure out where you want to go, why you want to be there, and then figure out how do we actually get there. And here's what's cool. If you're watching this, what it tells me is that you're someone that has the ability within you, right? I don't typically work with people. I don't work with people that I don't think could do it on their own. In other words, if you're watching this, it means you're someone that could do all this on your own. Yet I think by us working together, you could do it faster and less beat up, right? You can get there quicker with less bruises. So that's what this journey is about. So I'm thrilled that you're here. So here we go. You are a high achiever, and we're going to figure out how to get you on the path even faster. So this is about, so much of this is about awareness. So as we're going through this, there's gonna be times where you press pause and just think for a minute. I think one of the things that we don't do very often is pause in life and figure out what's working, what's not working, right? Take a moment for some self-awareness. So I think that because you're an epic person, I'm an epic person, this is gonna be epic. Here we go. So here's my question. What do you want? Right? What do you really want in life? And my goal for you by going through this is a couple things. One, I want to create awareness. Because I think awareness in and of itself can be transformational. Another thing is I want you to realize that you really are a badass and you can do this. You have it within you. It's amazing that when we look at other people, we can see their greatness, right? And yet sometimes we can't see the greatness we have within ourselves. So part of this experience is going to be helping you see your own greatness. The third thing that we're going to work on is help you gain clarity, right? Clarity is so huge in this world, and one of the reasons we don't get what we want is because we don't really know what we're after. The other thing is I'm going to show you a predictable bridge. And I love that word predictable, right? A predictable bridge to get from where you are to where you want to go, right? Too often in the middle is where we get stuck, right? So we're going to build a predictable bridge. How do I get from here to here? and not lose things along the way. In other words, right, I knew how to get from here to here. I just didn't know how to do it without losing my first marriage, right? So we can do it without paying a price you're not willing to pay. Another thing that we're gonna work on as you go through this is being the person that you choose to be, living the life that you choose to live. Too often we build a big business and then we go, okay, what kind of life do I want to have? Instead of beginning with thinking about where do I ultimately want to be and going there. All right. So this is all about building an epic business and an incredible family. And that's something that I'm passionate about, and I trust you are too, is about building a big business and a big family. Too many people, when I begin to talk to them about this, they begin to realize that they have a belief in their mind, this almost like a limiting belief. And they go, I'm either going to build a big business or I'm going to be a great dad. And I go, where did we make that decision? A lot of times it's unconscious, and yet so many people, they go, I'm not going to build a big business because I'm going to be a great dad, or I'm going to build a big business because I'm building a big business. I can't be the dad that I want to be. And I'll tell you what, that's a lie. You can do both, and yet most people never do. You can do both, and it's about effective systems and strategies. Here's the reality. There are people that are doing it. Why not you? There are people that are doing it, so we can do it, build a big business and have an incredible family and do them at the same time. So here's some questions for you. Oh, my last goal before we move on. My last goal is we actually have some fun along the way. Are you with me? If we don't have a little bit we may as well enjoy this journey. We only get one ride. Are you with me? Okay, here we go. So I have some questions for you. My questions for you are, and I've got some of these questions that I think are really brilliant. I heard these from a teacher years and years ago. I wrote them down and I've reflected on them over and over as I go through my journey. So I wanted to share them with you. So here are some of those questions. The first question is, are there others in your market that are doing better than you? Or even outside of your market? Are there people that are performing at a higher level than you are? And if so, what are they doing that you're not doing? So too often when we see people that are doing better than us, our mind wants to create a story. So I'm going to caution you on that, because our mind wants to create a story that goes, well, if they're doing twice as much business as I am, maybe they're not spending time with their family, right? And I do care about my family, so it's okay that I'm not doing that much business. When maybe the truth of the matter is they've just implemented different systems and strategies than you have. So the first question is, are there other people doing better than you are in your market? Okay, here's my second question. Can you do better? If you really sat down and thought about it for a moment, is there more opportunity? Can you do better? And the third question that I love is, do you want to? And I think that's such an important question to ask yourself, because there's so many people that they say they want to do better, yet they don't really want to do better, because you've got to pay a price. There's going to be a cost. You've got to do something different. If you want to do better, it's going to show up in your actions, because you're going to be willing to do different things. So that question is, do you really want to do better? And if you don't, why? Now, here's one of my favorite questions to ask people. I so often ask people when I'm teaching a class or whatever, I say, do you want to double your income? And it's amazing how many people, a lot of people say yes, right? I'm in, right? Double my income. And yet there's this percentage of people that go, no, I don't want to double my income. And at first that confused me. I didn't really understand. And yet when I asked them it a different way, so when I go to them and I say, what if you could double, what if I paid you twice as much money this next year for doing the exact same stuff you did last year, right? If you could do it the exact same way, just make twice as much money, would you be open to that? And what do you think they say? Every single time they say yes, absolutely, right? So why did they say no when I said you want to double your money? Because in their mind, they go, if I was going to double my money, I'd probably have to work twice as hard. And I'm already working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. I'm not willing to work 120 hours a week. What are you talking about? So here's where I want you to have a little bit of awareness. When I say, do you want to double your money? What sense do you have within you? What alarm bells go off? Because for too many of us, when I say that question, you go, well, I'd have to work twice as hard, which is the first aha I want you to have. Because that reveals to you that your only strategy right now would be work harder. Is it possible that we could double your income by not working twice so many hours? And I think it is. We're going to get there. Okay, here's the next question. If there are other people that are outperforming me, are they smarter than me? The answer is no. I love you. Okay, here we go. Next question. What's your vision? Where do you want to go? Where do you really want to go? And I don't mean just how many more transactions do you want to do? How many more loans do you want to do, right? Where do you really want to go? And then if you have a clear vision, here's the real question. All right, brace yourself. The real question is, do your actions match your vision? We got a vision. So many people have a vision of where they want to go, and their actions are out of alignment. They're not in alignment with where they want to go. Here's the next question I want you to ask yourself. What would happen if you took your business more seriously? What would that look like if you took your business more seriously? What would you do different? And this is the next question. What are you pretending not to know? What are you pretending not to know about your business, or about how your actions are reflecting every day, or about what you're doing? What actions are you not taking that you know you need to take, yet you're pretending that you don't know you need to take them? Are you with me? Our mind is a crazy place, right? That's why we're doing this together. Okay, here's another one that I love. What's the one thing that you need to do different? If you could just do one thing different, what would it be? If you could go back to January 1st and start the year over again, what's the one thing that you would do different? I want you to write that down. What's the one thing you could do different as you move forward? So as we're going through this, I want you to pause every once in a while and write some of this stuff down. Answer some of these questions. It's amazing how often we hear great questions. We have these little mini ahas, and then we don't take the time to really allow it to grow, to really allow it to get the full meat out of that question, okay? So as we go through this, there's going to be a couple things. I'm going to ask you to engage and participate, which means you're going to do the homework. You're going to do the stuff that we talk about. It's so important. So here's what I want you to do. Before we move any further, I want you to get clear about why you're going to be on this journey. I want you to get clear about why we're going to do this together. So I want you to write down right now, why are you doing this? Why do you want to grow your business? Why do you want to double, triple, quadruple your income? Why is that important to you? And take it a step further, who are you doing it for? Who are for most of you that are watching this isn't just about you. This is about maybe your spouse, maybe your partner, maybe your family. Who are you doing this for? So I want you to write that down. I want you to write down, why am I doing this? And then who am I doing it for? What does it mean to double my income? What would the effect of that be? Why are you here? Why are you doing this? Write that down. What's the most important thing to you about going through this journey and having massive results in your business and seeing some massive results in your life? So let's take a moment right now and write that down. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Write down right now how much money you want to make in the next 12 months. Literally go and write it down. So write down how much money you want to make in the next 12 months. Got it written? Okay. Now I want you to take that number and I want you to just scratch it out, and I want you to triple it. I want you to triple whatever number you wrote down. So if you wrote down 200,000, I want you to write down 600,000. Now actually write it down, pen to paper, write down how much you want to make. So imagine that you made, instead of $200,000 next year, you made $600,000. What would you do with that money? What would that do to your mind? So here's what's interesting. Even as you wrote it down, did your mind kind of take a trip? Right? You wrote down 200,000, you go, okay, maybe I can make this. Then you wrote down 600,000 and your mind kind of exploded. Would you agree? Because the reality is your mind's not even thinking that big. So you write down 600,000 and then you realize this is crazy, yet who said it was crazy? If your mind had an issue with that, it helps you realize where your mindset's at. See, so much of this journey is your mindset. So much of this journey is coming up and discovering what are some of those preset rules in my life. There's an author that recently called them rules, right? BS rules. And one of the BS rules we have for most of us is some of us have this amount of money that we can make in a year, and we don't even know where we came up with that number, probably from our parents, and yet we got this certain amount of money that we think we can make. And this is proven. They did a study a couple of years ago, and they looked at all these people, and they compared their incomes to their parents' incomes. And the majority of more than 90% of people make what their parents made plus a little bit, what their parents made plus inflation, basically. And it helps you realize that so much of this isn't about how smart you are. A lot of this has to do with your mindset. Do you think you can make $600,000? If you think you're someone that can make, it's interesting when I talk to somebody and they go, how much money could you make? And they go, if I could make six figures, that would be everything. And it helps me realize where their mindset is. So if you quadrupled whatever number you wrote down, what would that do for you? And if in the moment when you wrote that down, you felt some dissonance, I want you to realize that that's your mind, right? And your mind is one of our biggest assets, and it can be one of our biggest enemies. So in the next several weeks, we're going to walk through, in the next several videos, we're going to walk through how to quiet that voice in the head, how to use your mind. Your mind can be used for you or against you, and it's a choice. And the reality is your mind is so incredibly powerful, yet most people we take it for granted. understand it because our mind came with the package, right? It came for free. You got it with the rest of you. We undervalue what it can do. So we're going to use it instead of it using us. Sound good? So we've got these two pieces of our mind, and there's a bunch of pieces yet. To simplify this, to make it simple for us to understand, is we've got our conscious mind, and we've got our subconscious mind. And the reality is that our subconscious mind, all these rules, right? All these BS rules, all these things that we believe are 100% true are what's really guiding the show. They're what's really taking over. And then, right, that's the mind that tells us to breathe, right? You don't have to remind yourself. That's the mind that have you ever driven to work and you don't even realize how you got there? You were kind of like on autopilot. You begin to realize how much is happening on a subconscious level. What's interesting is our subconscious level is where all these rules lie out. How much money can you make? How good of a parent could you be? What could you do with your life? That's where this all lies. So in the next several weeks, we're going to evaluate some of these. We're going to look at our self-image. We're going to look at our self-talk. We're going to look at our self-esteem. We're going to dive into some of our beliefs, and we're going to list some of these out. It's interesting, but some of our limiting beliefs are that we don't want to grow our business because there's a price we'd have to pay. It may not be 100% true. We don't want to double our income because we don't want to work twice as hard. People say, I'm happy where I am. Is that 100% true, or is there more opportunity? Let me summarize this in one statement that I believe is so powerful. It's not what you don't know that's holding you back the most. What holds most of us back at the highest level is what we know to be 100% true that may or may not be 100% true. It's what we believe is 100% certain that may or may not be that may or may not be messing us up. Does that make sense? So here's a big one. Here's a big belief that our mind has constructed that's really powerful. A big belief is pain is bad. A big belief is anytime I experience pain, I should run. And your mind is working ever since you were a child, right? And this mind we got that's been around for a long time. Its goal is if I feel pain or something is unsafe, I should freaking run. So every time in our life, as a kid, we don't experience that when we're really little, right? Or we'd probably never learn to ride a bike. Yet as an adult, anytime we begin to encounter pain, we feel that something is going to be tough or awkward or uncomfortable, put us out there, our mind goes, run! And we get scared, right? Our mind goes, run, 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 get out of here. So the problem is that's holding you back in most sense, right? If your mind, every time you come up against something tough, your mind says run, my question for you is, are you growing? Right? If we grow, every time we grow, we experience some level of pain and discomfort, right? If you go to the gym and it's always comfortable, you're going to be stuck. So your mind is saying that pain is bad, yet the reality is sometimes we've got to experience a little bit of pain to get where we want to go. And every decision you make in life is based on two things. And this has been around since forever, right? We've talked about this for 100 years. Every decision you make is based on pain and pleasure. Am I moving away from pain, or am I moving towards pleasure? So you have to ask yourself, am I really making conscious decisions, or is things happening to me, right? Pain can actually be useful. So in the next, as you go through these videos, as you go through life, you're going to come across some things that may be a little painful. Some of the questions I already asked you may be a little painful. I may have asked you, are other people doing better? Why not you? And you may have gone, oh, that's a little painful, and just skip that question altogether. So we've got to experience a little bit of pain. And yet I want you to consider this. Most of the amazing things in your life have come because you got a little bit uncomfortable. Most of the amazing things in your life have come because you experienced a little bit of discomfort. Maybe there's some accountability, and it led you to a great place, right? We learned to read and write and do math and all these amazing things because someone taught us to go through some discomfort, right? It wasn't always comfortable. We went through some discomfort to get there. So realize that your mind is working to hold you back, and that you can make the choice to push through. And by experiencing a little bit of pain now, by experiencing a little bit of discomfort, the other side can be amazing. The most incredible thing you're going to learn, and if you get this, it will change your life. The most incredible thing you can learn is where you get to choose where to put the pain, and the greater pain always wins. Wherever the greater pain is, that's what's going to win. So have you ever seen people in life that maybe they get their car repossessed, or they get their house taken away from them, whatever it is, because they didn't make enough money? You see this happen in sales all the time, right? Maybe someone they got to make 100 calls a day, or they're not going to get paid, right? And they choose choose to not make those calls, and then they choose to, which means I don't get to make the money, which means somebody takes my car. So the reality was the pain of not making those calls was more painful than the pain of losing their car, which sounds crazy. Yet what I want you to realize is we make these choices all the time because the short-term pain, we don't always think about it in the long term, correct? And that's why you see people that we don't go to the gym a lot of times, right? People don't go to the gym because they go, the short-term pain of today is that's the greater pain. That's what's winning. Yet 30, 40 years down the road, they end up being in a wheelchair because they didn't go to the gym. They end up dying. It's amazing. People come to me and they go, if I don't work out, if I don't go to the gym, I have heart disease runs in my family or whatever it is, and I'll probably die 15, 20 years earlier. I literally will probably die 15 or 20 years earlier if I don't walk for half an hour a day or I don't do whatever I need to do. And they almost laugh about it, right? They go, so I better go. And yet, how can we as humans then go another 5 or 6 years without taking that action? The reason we can do that is because oftentimes when the big pain, when that pain is really far away, it looks really small. The further something is away from us, the smaller it looks, right? So the pain of getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning is really, really painful. And that's the pain that's close to us. So dying 20 years, earlier, if I'm in my 20s or 30s, that's really far away. Are you with me? Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is begin to think that you can move the pain. And what I mean by that is if you can get very clear on what dying 15 or 20 years earlier means to you, then we can pull that pain into today, and that greater pain will outweigh the pain of getting up at 5 a.m. So let me ask you, if you were talking to that person, what would you say? Right? If they were going to die 20 years earlier, some of the questions I would ask them is, what are you going to miss out on? And they may say, well, I'm going to miss out on time with the grandkids. I would go, get really specific. What are the specific events you're going to miss out on if you choose to die 10 or 15 years earlier? And they go, well, I guess I would miss out on high school graduation. I would probably miss out on the birth of my first grandson. And the more specific I can get about the pain they would experience 20 years from now, the more I can bring that into their present. And what I'm helping them realize is if I don't work out today, I'm saying no to rocking my grandkid to sleep 20 years from now. See what we did? We took the greater pain in the future, we brought it in today, and that's what causes action. So what I want you to realize is the greater pain will win, and you get to make a choice on where you place that pain. Talking about this concept of pain versus pleasure, and Tony Robbins has been talking about this for years, and understanding this concept is one of the fundamental things that's going to help you change and have the life that you want to have. So you look at this concept of pain versus pleasure, and let me give you a couple examples. So the other night we're sitting at dinner, and my 4-year-old son Hudson's sitting there, and I tell him he's got to eat these 2 more bites before he can go play with his toys, right? He's got to finish his dinner before he can go play with his toys, and he's saying that most of us, our parents, we've had this experience where your kid is eating as slow as freaking possible. So he's sitting there eating slow, and then all of a sudden, his little sister Hadley comes by, grabs his toy, and begins to walk away. And what do you think happens? Like, he begins to lose his mind. And I say, dude, you got to finish your bites before you go play with the toy. He scarfs those things down in like a millisecond and it takes off after the toy, right? All of a sudden, the pain moved, didn't it? In the beginning, the pain was eating those 2 bites, right? It was so painful, he was going to die, right? And then all of a sudden, when his little sister came by and grabbed the toys, what do you think happened? The pain of eating those bites dropped way, way down, right? Because the pain of his little sister walking with his toys went way, way up. Switch cost. So you see people in life using this all the time. Let me give you an example that applies to us. How many people do you know that are unwilling to pay the price? Meaning there's ways you can buy time, you can buy speed. And we've said for years, one of the reasons why you're watching this, one of the reasons why you go and train your brain is because you're paying the price now so you don't have to pay it later. There's 2 ways to gain knowledge, right? And the 2 ways to gain knowledge are you either learn it the hard way or you go learn it, or you pay to learn it from somebody else who's been there, done that, right? And you get the hard way is you pay the price right forever and ever, and it's really expensive. The other way is you pay the price right now, and it may cost you a little bit of money or time up front, and yet it will save you a lot of pain down the road. So ask yourself, where are you using pain versus pleasure? Let me ask this, and this will go right to the heart. When you're sitting there thinking about lead generation, or thinking about making that call. Where's the greater pain? So many people I work with, high achievers, they sit there and they look at that phone and they go, picking up the phone and making a sales call is really painful right now. And yet, what do super high achievers think? They ask themselves a different question. They go, what's the long-term pain if I don't pick up this phone? By changing the question, it empowers their mind and it switches the cost. All of a sudden, the pain of picking up the phone is nothing compared to the pain that it would cost them in the long term if they don't make these calls. Are you with me? So here's what I want to ask yourself. As you go through this, in any experience that you learn and grow, there's going to be some discomfort. There's going to be a little bit of pain. Welcome to life. Yet acknowledge most of the great things you have in your life have come from a little discomfort, a little pain. You learn to read and write and do math and all that stuff because there was a little bit of pain involved, right? And yet it was worthwhile. So here's what I want to ask yourself. Why are you willing to do this? What are you fighting for? What are you passionate about? Why are you willing to grow and learn and play all in? What would it mean to you if you doubled your income, right? What would you do with that money? And the reality is money isn't the ultimate goal, is it? Money's the facilitator. Money's the reward for living a passionate life, for doing what you're amazing at, for being incredible at it. Money's the reward for giving massive value. So, James Allen said it this way. He said, most people are anxious to improve their circumstances, right? Most people want a different life, and yet few people are willing to do the work. Few people are willing to get the education, to push through. And I'll tell you what, this success, however you define that, there's no way to get around learning new things. There's no way around the uncomfortableness of growth. You can't go around it. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You got to go right through the thing. So make a decision right now to go through it. Make a decision to play all in. So let me ask this. Why are you doing this? Why are you going to play all in? So let me give you a story that really resonated with me. So Jack Canfield told the story a little while ago about a friend of his. And this friend of his was wildly successful, and yet he came to Jack with this kind of this blight one day and said, Jack, early on in life, I thought if I made a lot of money that I would be happy. He goes, so I went out and I made a lot of money and that didn't make me happy. He goes, so then I thought if I buy stuff, then I'll be happy, right? If I get some awesome things that I've always wanted, then I'll be happy. So he goes and he buys all the stuff and he realizes that didn't make him happy. So he did what a lot of us have done, right? He goes, I'll just buy different stuff, right? So he goes and he buys different stuff and he realizes that didn't make him happy. Right? He goes, just money in and of itself wasn't making him happy. So what was interesting is a little while later, Jack Canfield invited him to go on a trip with him. And he said, we're going to this country where there's been landmines for years. And there's all these people that have lost limbs and things because of these landmines. And we're taking wheelchairs and we're giving them away. Would you like to come on the trip? So Jack's friend said, yeah, that sounds like a good experience. I'd love to come. So he gets on the plane, they fly over there, they get there, and it's day one, and they're unloading these wheelchairs from a truck, and they're giving away to these kids. And this gentleman takes one wheelchair and he sets it down and he helps this little boy who had lost his leg, and he helps this little boy in the wheelchair and sits him down and begins to walk away, and yet this little boy reaches up and just grabs his face. And this little boy's looking up at him and just is holding his face with all his strength, right? And the guy's looking down at this kid, and the interpreter comes over because he can't understand what the child's saying. And this little boy's talking away, and this interpreter comes over and he goes, please tell this child that this wheelchair is his. He can have it. Just kind of like, let me go, right? I'm gonna go help somebody else. And she said, what's he saying? And the interpreter said, he's asking you for just one more minute. Because he wants to memorize your face so that when he gets to heaven, he can say thank you again. And the man said, in that moment, I realized what it was all about. All of a sudden, in that moment, I realized that the money I've made could make a significant impact in the world. He figured out why he was doing what he was doing. What I want you to do on this journey is figure out what you want, why you want it, why it's important for you, and then we're going to give you the tools and the strategies to go get it. Yet first you got to figure out the why. Because a big enough why will pull you through anyhow. Are there going to be some hard spots? Yeah, welcome to life. Right? And somebody said, it's hard to be wealthy. I'll tell you what, it's hard to be broke too, right? Being broke isn't easy. So if it's hard to be wealthy and it's hard to be broke, you may as well be wealthy. So make the decision to play all in. Make the decision to push through some of the uncomfort and the feeling weird or the discomfort, because it's freaking worth it. So let me give you the 4 reasons why most people don't hit their goals. The 4 reasons why most people don't hit their goals is, the first one is maybe it wasn't their goal in the first place. You've seen people in life that they're chasing after something without any passion, and they wake up one day and they go, I don't even know why I did this. So it was what I thought I was supposed to do. You see people that maybe they're building a real estate team or a sales team, whatever it is, and they're lacking passion because they thought that's what they were supposed to do. It wasn't really their goal. So I'm going to ask yourself, the goals you're after, are they really your goals? The second reason most people fail and don't hit their goals is they're not following in the footsteps of somebody else. Successful people look for models. They look for tools and strategies that have been successful for other people. They don't go out and try to wing it all on their own. So are you following the footsteps of somebody else? The third reason that most people don't hit their goal is it's simply a lack of clarity. They don't really know what they're after, or they don't really know what they need to do to get there. One of the things that I help people with at such a high level is just help them gain clarity. Because if you have clarity, then we can get momentum, then we can get into the zone, then we can have results. The fourth reason why most people fail and don't hit their goals is they're unwilling to pay the price. Every goal that's worthwhile has a price. And that price may be money. Maybe you got to pay for an education. Maybe you got to pay to learn something you don't know. Maybe it's time. Maybe it means some late nights and some early mornings. Maybe it's I've got to let go of some relationships that I've had that are no longer serving me. I can't hit my goal if I'm hanging around with these people anymore, right? I've got to go to another level. There's going to be a price. And yet I think that when we get clear on the goal and we get clear on why it's important to you, the price, all of a sudden you're willing to pay the price. Are you with me? So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I want you to do some work and write down some of these things. I want you to write down what do you want to do in life and be clear. So I want you to imagine, what's your perfect day a year from now? I want you to write down, what's your perfect day? What would you love to be doing 5 years from now? And then the last one I want you to write down is what's your perfect vision of life 20 years from now? Is it you waking up 20 years from now in your home, looking over the ocean, hanging out with the grandkids, whatever it is? I want you to get clear on this. And here's what blows my mind. And I don't remember who said it the first time. They said, most people spend more time planning holiday parties than they do planning their life. Most people have more clarity on the Christmas party they want to have than they do on where they want to go in their life in the next 5 years. I want you to take the time to figure this out. I want you to write it down in absolute clarity, as if you were describing something in intimate detail. Where do you choose to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now? Now, as you do this exercise, it doesn't need to be perfect. Right, and maybe write down several different ways. Did you ever read those books years ago? Those like multiple ending stories where Jack gets to 3 doors. Which one does he take? And you could, in the storybook, you could choose one door and it would lead down somewhere. You could choose the other door. I want you to, as you write these down, imagine it that way and go. You know what? Well, maybe if we did this, here's what life will look like. If we did this, here's life. Have some fun with this. We can change it down the road. Just when you're doing this exercise, I just want it to be a free flowing experience. Make sense? Most people come to me and they go, "How do I figure out my why?" And I go, you got to do the work. You got to do some of the journaling and some of the stuff on this. So write down where you want to be. And then I'm going to ask you, then once we have clarity, then we can build a bridge. Most people stand on one side of a cliff and they go, I just want to go somewhere. I want you to figure out where you want to go and we're going to get there. If you don't know where we want to go, anywhere will be okay. Are you with me? As an agent, here's my question for you. Do you have a predictable business? Do you know how many people you need to have in your world, in your database? How many people let me say it this way. Do you know how many people you need to take care of in order to hit your yearly goals? Most people don't. Most agents wake up at the beginning of the year and they go, because they have no idea exactly how they did it last year, and they sure as heck don't know how they're going to do it this next year, right? I mean, they wait and they go, I worked really hard last year, and yet I don't know exactly what I did. So my intention for you is, let's make this predictable. What would it be like to wake up January 1st and go, I know how many people I need to take care of, I know how to take care of them, and I know that if I do this and this, by the end of the year, I'm going to hit my yearly goal. And if I wanted to double my goal, I would just need to take care of this many more people. You don't have to take care of a gazillion people. The numbers, if we're going to give you some generic numbers, if you look at this, for every 10 people you have in your Met database, for every 10 people you have in your Met database, they're going to send you, you're going to do a transaction with either they're going to give you a deal or they're going to refer someone to you throughout the year. So I need 10 people in my database that I take care of in order to do one transaction, right? I have 100 people in my database. That's a minimum of 10 transactions a year. All of a sudden, I just get to do the math. It's probably way more than that. And yet I'm going to give you I'm going to underestimate on this so that we can overachieve at the end. Make sense? So I want you to sit down. I want you to do the math. How many people do I need to have in my database to hit my yearly goal? And then we're going to talk about how do I take care of those people? Because the reality is there's several ways to do your business. And you can do it by hope, or you can do it because you know what you're doing. There's way too many agents out there that they get to the office every day, they sit down at their desk, and they hope and pray to get a transaction, right? Here's what the difference. I want you to wake up every day with certainty. I want you to wake up every day knowing if I do this and this, here's where it's going to lead me down the road. You can tell the future. And what I mean by you can tell the future is you can predict the future when you know what you need to do every single day to get there. When you're winging it every day, it's costing you a lot. If you don't know these numbers, it's costing you energy, it's costing you enjoyment, it's costing you passion. So I want you to figure out what some of these numbers are. So in the next couple weeks, we're going to talk about what we need to do to take care of those people. Again, the first thing I want you to do is figure out if for every 10 people in my database I did a transaction, how many people would you need in your database right now? As you begin to think about your perfect life, I want you to take it one step further. I choose for you to think about it this way. Who do you want your perfect referral partners to be? Who do you want in your database? One of the things we don't often think about is who do I want to work with, right? So if you're thinking about, right, what agents do I want to work with? I want you to be very clear. If you're thinking about what lenders do I want to work with, like who do I want to partner with on this journey? I want you to think about who are the people that I want to have, that I would like to have dinner with? Like who are the people that I actually want to spend time with? Oh, by the way, who has big goals and big dreams like I do? And instead of just choosing the people that are close to us, I want you to be incredibly specific about who you choose to partner up with, who you choose to work with. What are they passionate about? What kind of books do they read? Where do they live? All right, so I want you to think about that in your partnerships. Do they have big dreams? Are they partnering with me and solving problems just like I am, right? Do they have the same sense of urgency that I have? And then on the other piece, when you're thinking about your database, instead of just working with anybody, let me say it this way. Most people are unwilling to get specific. And here's what I mean. You go up to them and you go, who do you work with? They go, I work with anybody. If they have a pulse, I'm in. Well, that's so not true. Do you want to work with somebody that has a 400 credit score? Probably not, right? I want you to get specific about who you want to work with, because here's the reality. If you attempt to be everything to everyone, you'll end up being nothing. Let me say it one more time. If you attempt to be everything to everyone, you'll end up being nobody to everybody. I want you to get specific on who you choose to work with, right? It's just like harnessing the sun's rays through a magnifying glass and getting specific. Then you can start a fire. So when you think about the perfect clients you want to work with, I want you to write out your perfect client in detail, right? I know that my perfect client is probably someone that's in a relationship. Maybe they have a kid or two, and they have massive potential, and yet they're struggling to figure out some of these new distinctions or these new systems to get to the next level, right? I want you to get that clear with your client. Where do they live? What do they enjoy doing? What are some of their dreams and aspirations? And I want you to discover that, because I want you to know where you need to go, where you can harness your let me say it this. You have three assets, right? You got time, you have energy, and you have money. Those are your three biggest assets in my perception: time, money, and energy. And if you're chasing everyone, we're not very effective with any of those. If I know that my perfect clients live in this part of the state, or this community, they do this and this, they love to eat dinner in these places, their kids probably do this, then I can hone all that time, money, and energy, and I can focus after my ideal client. So instead of working with just anybody that walks, I bump into, I get to hone all that energy and go after the perfect people that I see working with for forever. These are my ideal clients for life. So one of the things I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you this week to go and get very specific about who you want to partner with, whether it's a realtor or a lender, who you want to partner with, and then get very specific about who your ideal client is. Because once we get clear on those two things, then we can target and hone in all of those three assets and go get them to build a big life that you're passionate about. All right, on the next video, we're going to dive into, once we get clear on what those two things are, and now that we're getting a little bit more clear on our numbers, the next video, we're going to dive into even more of what to do. How do we get there? What are the actual things we got to lay out to take care of those people, to build those relationships, and ultimately have a big life that we've always dreamed of and live our fullest purpose? I love that you're on this journey. Here we go.